Welcome back, everybody, to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I have the pleasure to have Caleb James, film analyst at Arrowhead Pride, on the show today. We're going to talk a little bit about Josh Simmons and the situation surrounding him and what Jaylen Moore could look like starting at left tackle on Sunday. So, Caleb, this Josh Simmons situation has been very odd, to say the least, and we're not going to speculate about what's going on with Josh Simmons, but I do think that it is worth mentioning that last week before the Chiefs played the Jags, he was listed as questionable with an illness. He ended up playing, and then the Sunday of that Lions game, he was not at walkthroughs. Patrick Mahomes was like, where's, Josh? The coaching staff wasn't really made known about this until that Sunday. Kind of caught everybody off guard. And then Andy Reid's been asked about it in, the weekly press conferences, and Mahomes has as well. They've been very quiet about this situation. So I'm not really sure what's going on, but what are your thoughts?
Man, it's just been kind of weird. Before the Jacksonville game, you get that news that he's, possibly questionable for the game. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I'm like, maybe he woke up and he was extremely under the weather. They had to get him like a liquid IV. They had to get him that kind of stuff, so that he could get his hydration levels up, and then maybe, some vitamin C just so he could go out there and play. And, he went in there and played. He played well. I don't think anyone had any issues with his performance against Jacksonville. But this week against Detroit, one of the best pass rushers in the league, Aiden Hutchinson, you see that news break when most people are sitting down, getting ready to just sit down and enjoy the game for the evening, doing whatever, and everyone sees on their phone, it comes across that he's not going to play and he's not even in the building. I'm like, that's some strange stuff. I expected to hear some news about it either after the game, or maybe it would be like a mid-game break where it'd be like so-and-so happened with a family member or he had some sort of an emergency, but there really hasn't been any of that. And then the Chiefs haven't commented on it much either, like you've said, and Mahomes hasn't, Reid hasn't. Not really sure what's going on with the situation. I know post-game Leo Chenal said that he played for Simmons and he's in their thoughts and prayers, so obviously something serious has occurred. I don't think we should be speculating about it until they tell us, because it seems pretty serious to me. Unfortunately, from the football side of things, Josh has a job that not a lot of people has. He's protecting the blind side, but the Chiefs did have a good performance from Jaylen Moore making his first start for the team.
Yeah, and he was also going through, his own family issue. I mean, not issues, but he had a child early on Sunday morning, and then he found out he was starting. And I think, for him to go and play the way he did against Aiden Hutchinson and that pass rush, I mean, hats off to Jaylen Moore. And the final comments that I'll make on Josh Simmons, the Chiefs said that he is away for a personal matter. SiriusXM was the first to say that it was a family emergency. Again, we don't really know what's going on. I don't even really think the Chiefs knew what was going on until, after the game happened. And Reid deferred to Brett Veach. He basically said that Veach was handling it. I think the tone and the way the Chiefs are dancing around this subject, regardless of what it is, it's more serious than we initially thought. So I definitely think this is going to be something to monitor, and we'll find out hopefully sometime soon. But I think with Simmons' status up in the air, Jaylen Moore is probably going to be asked to start on Sunday against the Raiders. And Caleb, you're the perfect guest to bring on because you did a film breakdown of Jaylen Moore against the Lions. What are your thoughts about, Jaylen Moore playing in this game?
Yeah, and if they actually just posted the blog I wrote about that to Arrowhead Pride this afternoon, if you want to go take a look at that. I know on the film review show that we have come out, that I think everyone will have seen by the time this comes out, you'll get to see some of the breakdowns. But really, I just kind of talked about how this was the situation they brought him in for, was if he has to make an emergency start. And it's not like in the past where if Wanya Morris has to go in or like another tackle has to play, they have to change up the offense and really cater to, they had to change up the offense a little bit. They had to cater to having Joe Thuney out there. They've had to do that with Wanya Morris in the past, Andrew Wiley. That wasn't the situation. They didn't change up anything out of the playbook because Jaylen Moore is a very capable player. he came into Kansas City, thinking he's probably going to be the starter. They draft Simmons. Jawan Taylor steps up and looks okay on the right side to where they didn't think they needed to completely pull him. But this is why you invest in the offensive line. This is, it's very much a testament to Brett Veach's roster building. I know some people aren't always happy with it, but this is really the best situation the Chiefs' offensive line, I think, has been in since the 2022 season, and probably overall for depth purposes, probably the best spot it's been in since they had Fisher and Schwartz manning the tackle spots, as important as that is. But to come in, he played well against Hutchinson, not perfect. He gave up a sack late in the game in garbage time. He gave up a few other pressures. He had some high-level blocks, though. And I think the area he was really underrated in was the run game. Coming from San Francisco's offense, that was kind of their bread and butter, some of these backside cutoff runs. And when he was filling in for Trent Williams, here a couple seasons ago, that's where he was able to come in and, it was kind of a good transition. He had some real nice blocks in that. But, I think some of his stuff with his issues are physical, issues. It's like he doesn't have the longest arms. He's kind of a more compact tackle. But where I think he really is a good fit for the Chiefs and where he showed us he's got good footwork and he's very calm in his pass protection. He doesn't get crazy and overset or lunge. He's very patient. He showed that, and he's a high IQ guy too, made some good plays. So that was all great stuff to see. I think they're more than comfortable, playing him for a longer stretch of the season. That's what he's here for. And, we hope everything's okay with Josh Simmons, but from a football perspective, I think the Chiefs are going to be fine moving forward with Jaylen Moore. And that's, going to be big because you got, a dog like Max Crosby coming in here this week. You got some other really good pass rushers in the next, few weeks on the schedule here.
Well, I wanted to ask you, what is the difference between having Josh Simmons out there and Jaylen Moore out there? Like athletically, you mentioned, Moore being a little bit smaller and compact, but what is the true difference and what is the, drop-off level, if you could give a percentage?
So it's kind of interesting. Josh Simmons is like the unicorn athlete left tackle. There's not a lot of guys like him, man. I mean, you see him as a rookie in his first game. He's going toe-to-toe with Khalil Mack, locking him up. That's crazy stuff. He's got absolutely one of the strongest bases for a tackle in the National Football League. I'm talking about that strength down between his ankles, hips, all the lower body strength you have to have, great back strength, great core strength, really solid hands, and just the way you see him pass set and his vertical pass protection. There's just not a lot of guys that can move like that. So he definitely has that. Where you flip the quarter with Jaylen Moore, Moore's a lot more of a technician. He wasn't a first-round pick. He's a fourth-round pick from Western Michigan. There were questions when he came into the league, would he even be able to play tackle? And I think he's proved that he can. His fundamentals are really solid. He doesn't have a lot of lapses with his stuff. Sometimes it's just that stuff, the physical limitations he'll get beat on, where Simmons can overcome that stuff with superior athleticism. Moore can't always, but Moore doesn't put himself in these bad spots. He's very comfortable with his game and very comfortable with his pass blocking ability specifically, to where he doesn't always have to do that stuff. And I think overall you can also tell, he's got a great understanding of the playbook. You've been taking reps with the twos all week, and all of a sudden, they go, hey, you're blocking for Mahomes, Aiden Hutchinson's lining up against you. There's a big difference, but that's a testament to the kind of mental reps and, mentality he came into the week with. So there's pros and cons to obviously everything. It probably limits the Chiefs' athletic ability a little bit on the perimeter, what they can do in screen game stuff. But overall, the main goal for any offensive lineman in Kansas City is keep 15 on his feet, and I think he'll be able to do that.
Well, I want to pick your brain more on Jaylen Moore and what he might look like on Sunday, and we'll do that right after this break. This video is sponsored by my friends over at DM Injury Law. Injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation, but time is critical. Rely on the experienced personal injury attorneys at DM Law, Kansas City and Missouri's top injury law firm. DM Law is a full-service personal injury practice supported by a large team of investigators, case managers, medical record specialists, and more. And best of all, you don't pay unless they win. DM Law operates on a contingency fee basis, meaning no fees unless they win your case. And they also provide free consultations.
So if you've been injured, don't wait. You can contact DM Law today for a free consultation and learn how they can help you pursue the compensation you deserve. Let them handle the fight while you focus on healing. Hurt in a car wreck? Call Mike. Remember, Mike's got this. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisement. Thanks to DM Injury Law for sponsoring this video.
Huge thanks to the sponsors that have supported this channel all football season long. Now, Caleb, I want to ask you, because one thing that we're so accustomed to seeing when at least having solid left tackle play is that Mahomes trusts his pocket. And it really sucks because right before Josh Simmons was inactive for this game, he was really trusting the pocket. And I felt like he did to a certain extent with Jaylen Moore, but obviously it's a little bit different. But are you worried at all about Mahomes maybe trying to bail out and get outside the pocket against the Raiders, or do you think he's going to trust Jaylen Moore?
I think he's going to continue to trust what he's seen and what he has. And the Chiefs have also done little things to help him continue to gain that trust, whether it's leaving in extra tight ends to help block and, do other things, whether it's running a little bit of play action here and there. I think some of the under center stuff they do has been great for just kind of helping change stuff up, give him more confidence, and kind of slow up the pass rush a little bit. But, he looked pretty comfortable back there for the most part. With Mahomes and stuff, because you see there's a few plays where Jaylen Moore gets beat. But with Mahomes, if the tackles get beat, that's not always necessarily the end of the world. Where Mahomes has historically struggled is when that pressure is coming from up the middle. And I think that's why they've invested heavily in the interior offensive line these past few seasons. But that's like in the Super Bowl, yeah, Joe Tooney didn't play well, but also you're combining that with Mike Caliendo getting bull rushed into the pocket regularly. That's a double whammy. This week, you've got Creed, Trey, Suamatia all playing outstanding level of football right now. And they're able to kind of contain that middle pass rush, not let him go. So Jaylen Moore can get beat. And Mahomes just kind of does his little dance in the backfield there, kind of spins around, steps up in the pocket, makes Aiden Hutchinson look silly, and then just fires one out there to Xavier Worthy like it's easy. So I think it's more the whole sum of the parts than just the one or two bookend tackles. I think obviously having, very good tackles helps. But if these guys, all they got to do is wash them past Mahomes, or if the tackles, or if these defensive ends and edge rushers try to crash down, all they got to do is cut them off and push them down, because Mahomes can still maneuver the pocket well. He's always going to have happy feet. I don't think he'll ever really grow out of that. That's just kind of who he is at this point as a player. But it's kind of just about limiting that and limiting some stuff. And, if they do have problems, he can just keep kind of getting the ball out fast to Travis Kelce. That seems to be working quite well too.
So final question for you. What is your final score prediction for Sunday, and how many sacks does this offensive line allow?
Man, the Raiders are struggling a lot right now. We didn't even talk about the Chiefs' defense tonight, but I think they're about to go in here and kind of do what they want to do with the Raiders, especially as bad as Geno Smith has looked this season. So I think the Chiefs are going to come out hot offensively. Obviously, Rashee Rice back, so that'll kind of help everything out quite a bit. So I think the Chiefs are going to put up 30+. I'll go 34-17 Chiefs, probably some garbage time. Max Crosby will probably get one or so sacks. He'll probably give up about a sack and a half to 2 sacks. I mean, that's just what he does, though. You're not going to contain that guy for the entire game unless you're double teaming them or holding them. So we'll see kind of how they decide to do that deal with him. If they want to go with him over Juwan Taylor or Moore, they'll probably mix it up a little bit, but we'll see.
Well, I'll tell you what, if Mahomes in this offense can put up 34 points, then clearly he had time in the pocket, and it wasn't that big of an issue. So I definitely think that Jaylen Moore starting at left tackle is a much better option than they had all of last year with Wanye and even Joe Tooney. Jaylen Moore has that upside, and I think that with Josh Simmons' status being questionable not only this week but maybe some weeks in the future, it's good to have that investment of Jaylen Moore who can just slot in right away and play. So, Caleb, it was an absolute blast to get you on the channel. My final question for you is, where can the people find all of your great work?
Yeah, so if you guys want to go to arrowheadpride.com, you guys can obviously find my stuff there. On Twitter, you can follow me at CJ Scoobs. That's where I do all my initial film posting at, and been working on some TikTok stuff lately, trying to venture into that stuff a little bit. So we'll just kind of see what's happening with that, but hopefully more to come.
And guys, all of Caleb's stuff will be linked in the description of this video. You got to go follow him on Twitter for the instant breakdowns after this game. It's definitely worth the follow. Hit that like button, subscribe for more Daily Chiefs content. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video. And as always, go Chiefs.